a deeper explanation of an argumentative article or speech. And here you've got some general advice before you start. Remember to create a good, large headline that will capture the reader's interest. The language should be a matter of fact. And when you quote somebody, you have the right to use reported speech, colloquial language. But remember, you must never pretend that you have said something or that it's your idea. It's better to say that I agree with Professor Knight, or as Mr. Wright says, an expert and blah blah blah, and I totally agree since. Then you can draw conclusions, summing up the facts from other sources at the end. But if you plan to write a longer article, you might include more personal opinions, but it's always better to use ethos here to refer to a well-known authority on the topic that can bring support to the issue. I will explain further what ethos, pathos and logos really means in practicality, but shortly, ethos is the reliability that you will convey. You show that you're a trustworthy person when you write something that everyone can feel. Most of us have felt, and then the reader or the listener who has experienced the same thing will trust you. And also, if you refer to well-known authorities, the same thing. Then you have logos, which is the second part in an argumentative article or speech. That is that you use logical arguments. You use facts, table, graphs, facts, comparisons that will support your point of view. And they must be correct, because if you use one single little argument that people know this is not right, you will totally lose all the ethos, everything that you have built up. And finally, you finish up with pathos. That is your feelings, your passion. Because now the reader or listener feels positive towards you, so it's time for some emotional arguments. You can appeal to their sense of decency so that they change their opinions, or you can urge them to join a new group to support the community or something. But we will see more about that later. And as I mentioned before about the structure in the for an argumentative article or speech, you have an introduction and you see the green. That means that this is where you show ethos, something that has happened in the society, a new law, somebody has said something, and also refer to an authority. Secondly, you have a background. What was the situation like before? The third, now you introduce your main idea. What are you planning on arguing for? Be short and concise so nobody can misunderstand or misinterpret your standpoint concerning this particular issue. Now we come to the arguments. Try to separate your main arguments from the arguments that support them. The graph can support what Professor X has said on the matter. Then you have the first argument, and you see, now it's blue. That means logical arguments. Always start off with them. The second argument, use the good arguments of your opponents and contradict them. And argument 3. Now you can use emotional arguments, and in your conclusion, firstly, make a short summary of the arguments that you have presented and finish with an appeal. But you can also refer to the introduction and make a circle and bind it together. And then, when you present your point of view, you can also refer to a famous authority that has the same opinion, so that you have a backup there. So, later on, I will have another film showing you what more on depth, the logical arguments and ethos and so on. So, welcome back.